Hey guys, Rob Dion here from OCD Coffee, fairly new coffee roasting company, if I can call myself a company yet. I'm actually a personal trainer. Open Sky Fitness is my personal training brand, but anyway, I'm going to take you through today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to roast on a Yoshan roaster. I'm going to try to pack this as tightly as possible with as much information as possible about using a Yoshan roaster, using Artisan as my software in order to roast. Based on previous roasts that I've done, and I'll tell you what I mean when I get as we kind of progress. So, one of the things that you're going to want to do when you're roasting is you're going to want to preheat your roaster. Somewhere between 400 and 430 is a good kind of hovering temperature. I can adjust through my KPA valve. I can adjust my temperature and it'll go up or down. And right here at about 1.5 KPA, it's been warming for about a half an hour now, and that should be good enough for me to start roasting. Meaning it took a little while to climb to that temperature, and once it climbed to the 400 degrees, don't pay attention to the video here. I'm just making sure that I'm in frame because I want to show you my computer. I'm going to switch over to Yoshan to the Artisan. So I'm going to be roasting today on the Yoshan roaster a 2.5 pound roast. This is a 2 kilogram roaster. I'm capable of roasting to supposedly 5.5 pounds, but you never want to roast 100% capacity. You want to roast around 80% capacity, 85 at like the most, 75 to 85, right? So for this, I can roast 4 pounds, 4.5 pounds for a 4-pound yield comfortably. And it's been recommended through many different sources that you don't try to roast 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds of coffee. You pick basically 2 roast batch sizes. I'm going to learn how to, I've been getting really good at doing 2-pound roasts, which means I put 2.5 pounds in here exactly, and I usually yield about 2.15 in that kind of general range, depending on how far I go into the roast. So I'm going to take you through this whole process. I hope that you guys like this. I'm going to quickly go over, before I drop the beans in, I'm going to quickly go over the Artisan thing. So today, if you're using Artisan, the cool thing is that you can actually, going up here to roast, I'm going to go to background, and then I'm going to pick a previous background. I'm going to load a previous roast in here that I had done. This was that Lohas is actually what I'm looking for, I think. Yeah, that Lohas. I did a pretty good roasting curve. You can see my roasting curve here. There's a couple of blips in my roasting curve, and I'll try to fix that this time through. So I'm going to load this one in as my background, and then I'm going to try to match it. And notice how this should change. Oh, it did not change, so maybe I messed up. Oh, I know why. Sorry. What happens is I pick the PDF version so I can see it. This is the one that I can see, and then right here is the Artisan. So I'm going to load that. You can see how it actually already changed. And so this is my roasting curve that I'm going to try to follow. And don't worry about, I'm going to be talking about the airflow, and I'm going to be talking about the different gas settings as I go, and it's going to be very important, and I'll walk you through all that in just a second. So let's dive into this. I've preheated to 425 degrees roughly. I've been there for a little bit of time. I'm going to pop over to my Artisan here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the Artisan on, and I'm going to turn the Artisan off because I realized I have it set for, the background is great, but I need to actually let Artisan know. I'll show you here what roast I'm going to be doing. So I'll see you, I've got them set in a drop down here. And then I'm going to be doing this Lohas right here. And then I'm going to be doing 2.15, as you can see right there. And then I'm going to just list that here. And you'll see right here it just loads. Now I'm going to turn it on. And now if you do this all correctly, all this should be fairly simple for you in the setup. Right now it might be overwhelming for you, but like I said, follow that Artisan software that I told you and the starter guide, and all of this will be set up for you. Okay, so let's do this. Let's jump into this roast. So I'm going to cut the temperature. I'm going to cut the heat right now. I'm going to wait for it to drop to about, well, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to bring this up because I want my starting temp to be at 4 kPa. Got it? So I'm going to preset that at 4 kPa. I've got 2.5 pounds measured out already. I'm just going to let it climb for just a split second. Okay, I'm going to cut the heat, and then at 4 minutes, at 417, basically 10 degrees down, or 420 roughly, I'm going to turn this on. I found that the Artisan has a little bit of a glitch here with my computer, where if I turn it on too early, it says that I've got, so I'm going to start this. I'm going to record that I'm going to be at 4 kPa. I'm going to record that I'm at 40 air. I'm going to drop the beans into the hopper, and then I'm going to kick it on at 400 degrees exactly, and there we go, we're running. I'm going to hit charge on my Artisan, and now I'll show you exactly what just happened. So it says that I dropped it in at basically 396, if you can see that. It was at 400 when I technically dropped it. You'll see that my temperature dropped significantly, dropped from 400 degrees down to 343. It's still going down. And what we're waiting for and what we're hoping for is right here. We've got 275 degrees was my turning point last time at 1 minute and 30 seconds. You can see that my line is basically copying the same exact line before. So I'm on path to reaching exactly what I did last time. Okay? So as we go through this, so at this point when you're roasting, pardon me for having this in the background. It's just so I can see, make sure that everything's in frame. While this is happening, there's really nothing to do from now until I see basically dry phase, okay, which is dry end, which is when the beans turn green to yellow. So I want to just tell you quickly, this book by Scott Rao, I think it's how you say his last name, Coffee Roasting, is a fantastic book in terms of learning about your roasting curve using Artisan or the other software that most roasters use. This is another book that he actually recommends, which I read, which is Sourcing Green Beans. But unless you're a buyer of green beans and plan on becoming a very kind of like somebody who's starting a company, I don't recommend that. You don't really need it. You can order from places like Sweet Maria's or Berman Coffee or what's another one that I've ordered from? I don't even know offhand. But I'm currently ordering from Genuine Origin, where you have to order 65-pound batches. When you're doing a little more, I'm usually roasting like 15 pounds or 20 pounds roughly a week, so that's helpful for me. So my turning point, I'll show you right here, was at 136, if you can see that right there, and it was 2 seconds slower than the last one, but the turning point temperature was almost exactly the same. It was a difference between 0.1 degree, which is fantastic. So everything is lining up properly. My settings are all correct. And now what I'm looking for is basically I'm looking for my roasting curve to peak. And then once I get to my dry end, I'm going to start adjusting, or just before that, I'm going to start adjusting my gas so my roasting curve starts to drop progressively. And what I'm looking for is not like a major dip, and I'm looking for it not to kind of peak up, where I'll show you again in here. If you can see, it's kind of a straight line, but there was a little peak up there, and then it dropped evenly, and then here it flattened out. But I went for this one, I was going for a little bit more of a medium roast. So I went into finishing the first crack ended. So I had I don't know what the full development was on that previous roast, but I let it go a little bit longer. This I'm going to pull it a lighter roast, so I'm probably going to pull it out right as first crack ends. I'm going to drop the beans out. So I've still got a good rate of rise. It's staying up there. My KPA is staying nice and high at 4, right? And I can adjust it if I need to. Don't mess with it too much. And you can see, as you can see here, this is my bean temp. This is what I'm paying attention to rising. Very important. Got it? That's my timer. And then once everything goes, I'm going to be able to drop the beans from here. And then And actually, let's see if I can show you. I think you might be able to see that there. The beans are in the roaster spinning, and they're fairly green still. Let's see if I can get a better angle so it's not reflecting. See if you can see that. And we should be getting fairly close to dry end. We're less than a minute away. And I'm going to actually, see right here, it tells me to drop to 3-4. I'm going to cut my temp right here, down to 3-4 a little bit. And this is manual, and then you come in here, and then you have to also manually enter that. Okay, so I'm a couple of seconds off, but that's okay. And let's see if my temp just starts to drop. And here you can see I went from a 3 to a 2.8. And it seems like I had to make a quick adjustment there. So I'm going to go where it says at a 3. I'm going to go down to a 2.8 and make that quicker adjustment to make sure that I don't get that blip. That seems like I got that blip last time. And that should be coming up around 5 minutes. Right here's the time, 5 minutes and about 15 seconds. So that's going to happen now. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to turn it down to that 2.8. You can see that there. Yeah, somewhere in there. It's okay if I'm slightly off. And then I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to make sure that I change it here so I recorded that that's what I did. Oop, and I've got a little bit of a drop. Hopefully that's not too much of a drop. Oh, it's coming back. Okay. All right, so that's fine. So the probe, FYI, that's here inside my roaster, and now you know what I'm doing, so I'll just tell you as I go from now on. The probe that I've got in my roaster is not the best, right? I know that by reading Scott Rao's book, The Coffee Roasting, I know that there's improvements to be made in my roasting, in my probe that's in my roaster, and I can do that. So what I'm getting here is a roasting curve, or the accuracy of it is a little off. So what I'm looking for is I'm not looking at the peaks and valleys as much as what does the trending line look like. If it goes off the trend for a little bit too long, then I've got a problem. So here it dropped down. I'm just letting you know, from 2.5 down to a 2.5, and right about here is where I should make that adjustment. And I'm going to drop to a 2.5 or 2.25. And I'm going to make the adjustment there, only because I had a little bit of a peak. And I'll show you in the Artisan, after I'm done with this roast, I'll show you in the Artisan how I made adjustments based on, oh, we're getting close to first crack. Did you hear that? Oh, I forgot to record the dry end. That's okay. I can scoot it over here. I can scoot it over in my, there we go. We're going to be hearing first crack around 382 is about where first crack is. And I'm going to see it. My roasting curve is still fantastic, as you can probably see there. Okay, let me just make sure in the video. Yep, you can see it. See how it's still trending down. I've got it at a 2.25, and right here I know that I changed to a 2.2, but that curve is looking solid. Here comes first crack. I'm not going to record it until I get like a pop, pop, pop. I'm starting to, there's my first crack. Boom, and I brought it down to a 2 even. And it's starting to blip up a little bit, so I'm going to just keep an eye on it for a second, and I might have to drop the temp a little bit more. Nope, it's starting to come back down. That's it. Okay, it's doing all right. It should blip back up. There you go. So if you can see that, hopefully you can see that. Apologize if the video is not solid, but we're full into first crack now. Okay, started at 7 minutes and 38 seconds, and 390 was my first crack temp, which is about 5 pounds off, 5 degrees off from where I normally am, and I'm curious why. Maybe it's because it was the first roast of the day. You know, sometimes the roaster takes a little bit. And so what I'm looking for here is I can see here that just in a second I have a blip up, and when I switched it to a 1.5, and I still had a blip up, and I'm having a feeling it's going to happen again. So I'm going to drop that down to a 1.2. This might be extremely overwhelming for you. I apologize, because it's a lot. And if you're just getting a roaster, so I'm going to bring that down to a 1.2 is right here. I just made the adjustment down to a 1.2. Hopefully I don't have too much of a drop off. And I'm going to try to get up to usually about 410, 408 is where I've been pulling. for a light roast. First crack is almost done. And I'm probably going to pull it in just a couple of, like less than a minute probably, because my trend is fantastic. I'm at 17% development, 18% development, and I'm going to pull it at 19, right about 19. I'm going to turn my cooling on. I am at 19 dropping. Show you what's happening here. Boom, I'm going to, right here, I'm going to click drop. I had finished first crack, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. That looks like a nice light roast, which is what I was looking for. Okay. Close the bin. I'm going to kick my heat back up because I want to do another roast. So I'm going to bring it back up to a 3, just for now. Okay, bring it back up to a 3. So now it's preheating for the next roast. I've got this guy cooling down. And now let me quickly walk you through. On that one, I got 20% development. That roasting curve looked damn good. See how it's kind of like, it's doing this the whole time, but it's not, 100% accurate because it's a probe that's inside the roaster. So it's not going to be 100% accurate. And as it all blipped on. Now, one of the things that I forgot to do was I forgot to click my finished first crack. But I pulled it at 404. That's when I dropped it. So that was basically right at the end of first crack. So I'm just going to count that as the end of first crack, and that was my 20% development. So that should give me a pretty darn good roast. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to cover on this, but I'm sure if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions. If this is something that you're interested in learning, how to use a Yoshan roaster, basically how to get set up for this, and how to turn out different roasting levels, let me know. I'm happy to have that conversation. I'm gonna just I'm gonna call it there, guys. I'll let you know how this coffee turns out. All right, bye.